מייקל גדל כמצרי אמריקאי, שכמו סביבתו, בסכסוך הישראלי-פלסטיני תמך בגישה הפרו-פלסטינית, ומספר שהיה עוין כלפי ישראל. היום הוא כבר הפך למשפיען רשת פרו-ישראלי, שנלחם באנטישמיות ברשתות החברתיות, ואפילו עשה מחווה מרגשת ואמיצה במיוחד. לבני משפחת ביבס, זכרם לברכה, מוקדם יותר שוחחנו איתו, עם מייקל מארצות הברית. שלום.
Hi.
Michael, let's start from the beginning. Can you tell us about the environment you grew up in? What shaped your early views on Israel and the Jewish people?
Yeah. So I grew up in a Coptic family, and the earliest memories I have of Israel, or even the mention of Israel and Jewish people, I remember I was in Sunday school and they were talking about the story of Exodus, where Moses led the Hebrews out of Egypt. And I remember even as a little kid that I got upset with that, because one of the 10 plague, well, the final 10 plague was the death of all the firstborn Egyptians. And I remember feeling some sort of resentment for that. And then growing up, when I became more knowledgeable about my background as an Egyptian, I then found out about the wars, right? So 1948, Suez, 67, 73. And, you know, this must have been around the age of 8 or 9. But I remember finding out about the wars that we had fought and that we had lost every single one. And it was like devastating for me to hear. But as far as how I grew up with my parents on the topic of Israel, my parents never ever taught me to hate Jewish people or Israeli people. My parents were very much supportive of the peace process. They thought that Israel had earned its right to exist in the region, and they just wanted to see the region in peace.
What was the turning point that changed your views and made you become pro-Israeli?
Oh, well, there's been quite a few things. I had always respected, even though I had an animosity towards Israel, I had always respected a few things just about how Israelis conducted themselves. I've always respected that Israelis invest a lot of money into research and development. I respect how studious Israelis are. I respect that they are free to critique religion. They have a much more open and tolerant society. So these are things that I had known while I was hostile to Israel that I respected. But the turning point for me was the fact that for most of the Palestinian narrative, you have to work around the truth rather than with the truth. You are constantly bending the truth to fit whatever narrative that you're trying to put out there. And I had reached sort of just a breaking point with, just with the cause itself. I mean, when you're being told that you are not pro-Palestine, if you are not pro-Hamas, when you're being told that you can't acknowledge atrocities committed by Palestinians, there's this ideological absolutism, unfortunately, that I was a part of. It's a very black and white picture. It's a very, you're either against us or you're with us, and you have to yield to these principles.
You recently revealed your full story online. What made you decide to come forward publicly, and how did your environment receive it?
So, something that is not apparent in the video. That night, that night happened to be Purim. That night happened to be Purim, and what a lot of people don't know is that I've been learning and studying Judaism from the beginning of this year, and I've been going to shul for the last nearly 3 months. And so on that day, Purim, I remember I left shul at night, and I felt so good leaving shul, which is how I typically feel when I leave. I feel very fulfilled. But I had this feeling of fulfillment, which was immediately followed by this feeling of, I can't believe I ever hated these people.
Wow. I can tell it's difficult for you to speak on it, and I wonder, how did your environment receive that shift?
Oh, I lost the vast majority of my friends. And I'll say right here is like, I blocked probably like 60% of them. There were people who I knew that they would, A, not respect my decision, B, there was no chance of them, you know, being open-minded enough to hear my how I came to my conclusion. And C, it was something like, if you take this position, you're forever their enemy.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge that too. I'm not like upset about that necessarily. I acknowledge that, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. You recently also made a powerful gesture to the Bibas family. Can you please show us to the camera?
Oh, yeah, of course. So I want to keep their memory alive.
Wow. What a beautiful gesture. Michael, we have to finish. So what message would you give today to people, especially in the Arab or Muslim world, who might have misconceptions about Israel and the Jewish people?
And then
yeah,
I'll translate it for English, okay?
Yeah.
يا عرب والمسلمون اختاروا الحياة بدل الموت. خلينا نصريح مع بعض. الأغلب الكراهية جاي من ناحيتنا مش ناحيتهم. الأغلب الكراهية جاي من ناحيتنا. What I said was, Arabs and Muslims, please choose life over death. The majority of the hate comes from our side, not from their side.
Amazing message, Michael. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Of course, it was my pleasure.